Welcome everyone to another CTC Software webinar. My name is Chris Bircher, Director of Technical Services here at CTC, and today we are going to do a workflow webinar today, and we're going to discuss the process of starting new projects and how HIVE and the CTC BIM suites can help you with this process. So it should be a fun hour. But before we get going, I do want to encourage everyone to ask questions throughout the webinar. If there's something that doesn't make sense or you'd like to know a little bit more about it, please ask using the questions panel. I will do my best to get at them as they come in. Otherwise, I will make sure to take time at the very end to answer all of those questions that I missed. And this will be recorded or is being recorded and will be on our YouTube channel shortly after the presentation has completed. So if there's anything that you missed or you joined late, you can check it out at your leisure. So let's get going. So starting new projects. Now, this is always a process that we're always trying to improve upon. And it always ends up taking a little bit more time than it should. And there's a lot of room for improvement in this process. Improvement, I mean reducing the amount of time it takes, making it repeatable, and removing, forgotten items or errors, I guess you could say. And so we got a number of our tools within the CTC product line that can assist in this effort. For starting the project, it's actually creating the project file itself, loading in the views, the sheets, the content, getting things set up, kind of that whatever would normally have taken you somewhere in the 2 to 4 to 6 to maybe even 8 hours, depending on what your template / starter project looks like. We got a number of tools that can assist. So today's presentation is going to show you how to do that and what tools can help you. So we're going to use HIVE to help us start our projects and load in some content. We're going to use View Creator to generate our new plans and levels and dependent views. We're going to also then use Spreadsheet Link to batch create the sheets and I'll show you kind of how that works with various settings files. And then we'll use Sheet Assistant to lay the views out on the sheets, kind of speed that process up. And last but not least, use a couple of other tools like Import Link Manager for reloading the links and Family Loader for loading in another method to load in content if you don't have HIVE, or if you are trying to batch load content into multiple Revit files at the same time. So we've got a couple of different workflows for some of this stuff, kind of blending everything into one. And yeah, it's going to be a fun hour here. So let's just get going. There's nothing to show other than Revit and the tools. All righty. So I've got Revit 23 open. There is no limit. Well, I take that back. You could start as early as 2020 if you'd like, all the way through 2024. And I'm going to start right here with HIVE. So I've just got Revit open. I'm opening HIVE directly. And from here, I'm going to use HIVE to start my project. Now, the quickest way to go about, if you're using HIVE, you know where I'm headed. Get a safe search up to find your templates or your starter projects or your standards, or just a saved search that helps you find what you're looking for really quickly. I've got a bunch listed here, including one in here called templates. And now I've got templates for various versions of Revit and a couple different disciplines here. I'm in 23, so that's what I'm going to start with. And you just click on load, and you're prompted right out of the gate to decide how you want to open it, detach, create a local, or open the central, or if you're loading, we actually have a load as group option here as well, but I want to detach with my worksense and start the project for you. Now, If you didn't have a 2023 or the current version template or starter file, because we don't always manage multiple versions of the same stuff, you could theoretically pick the 2020 version and upgrade it. Either way works out just fine. And now I'm in my project. So that takes care of that for now. I could have done a manual search, but this works just as well. So I'm going to do a quick little save as here to my demo folder here, and A23 ARC demo file. And we'll do that. I'll actually put it in this one to keep it clean. Okay, so now we've got the easy part out of the way. Now I need to do a couple of things. And at this point, there's some flexibility. Like, what do you want to do first? It doesn't have to be, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. It could be, if that helps you, whether you want to create the levels first or load in the links. It kind of depends on what discipline you're working in and your order of operations. Even though this is my demos are used as architectural starter project, it doesn't matter. Maybe I want to reload my links. I've got links copied to the project folder, so I can open up Import Link Manager at this point and do a reload from to get my placeholder links looking at at least the right location, so that when I do get stuff, it's a quick, easy reload. Either way, it's kind of up to you how you want to handle it. You can either do it now if you've got the files, if you're structural or MEP, maybe you've already got the architectural model to work with. Either way works fine, works. Or if you're architectural and you don't get the project till later, you can do it later. Kind of doesn't really make a difference. So I've got my structural file here. I'm going to open it up, load that in. Then I believe the next one is my, I don't remember, my mechanical. So we'll do that one, and then we'll do the electrical. So I've got my mechanical file there. Next is electrical. Now, if the files that you were working with were exactly the same and had the same names, you could do a reload from folder. Grab the folder, it'll reload everything automatically. But since my file names have changed, I have to grab them one at a time, which makes sense. Got to specify which one is being replaced with which file. But at any rate, we're all done there. If everything was to be stored on BIM 360, I can reload my links from BIM 360 as well. So we kind of accommodate all kind of the areas there. So now I've got my links reloaded. Step one, check. Step two, in this case, let's build levels and views. And we do that using View Creator. So this tool's undergone a slight revamp in the recent year, or in the last year, but for the most part, it's the exact same thing. I have the ability to build out my levels, and I can create, add them one at a time, or I can do it in batch. If you do it in batch, you have the opportunity to specify where these levels are going to go, before or after whichever level you want. And we've added a rearrange option here so that if they do fall in the middle and you need to push the roof and parapet level up more, it'll do that for you. So I'm going to insert a third and a fourth level after the second level. Oops. Hit enter too fast. Fourth level. There we go. After the second one with a spacing of 14 feet. With this box checked, it's going to take the roof level and the parapet level and increase their elevations for me automatically, so that they be, instead of, no, I can't even remember what they were, but they're now going to be up at 52 and 56 feet respectively. So now when I hit create, it's going to create 2 new levels, update the other 2 that it had to move, and we're done. So now I've got my levels built. Now I can create the appropriate plan views and ceiling plan views based off those levels. Starting with my floor plans, I need to update a couple of things here quickly because I added some levels. I need to update my abbreviations so that my naming conventions work out accordingly. And now I can specify which levels I need to create views for. So in this case, all of them. And which template to associate them with, or which template I need views built for. So if it's a brand new building, I don't need the demo or the existing ones, and those are kind of hard to see here. But if you do, make them. And you can select as many or as few as you need from this list, obviously. And let's just say, yeah, why not? And then I have the phases that I need to include. Do I want, depending on how you want your naming conventions, you can specify abbreviations here, if them, and use them or not. In this case, I'm going to have existing tacked onto the back of the view name and not new. Doesn't say anything. I know it's new. And now in this case, I have the opportunity to specify a scope box. I don't have any drawn yet, so it's not going to give me any. But I don't want it to say none at the end, so I'm just going to say no abbreviation at all. When I hit add, it's going to run through here and generate every single one of those views based off the level, the view template, the phase, and the scope box. If I don't like the order of this, I can remove them real quick, move a couple things around just by changing the order and specifying new drop-down positioning, and they will automatically switch themselves around if you need them to, depending on your preference. Oops, there we go. I like this, so I'm going to leave it alone and hit create. Now I'm going to get 100 some odd plan views built out of this. There, 108. How long would that have taken if we were trying to do that manually with either the duplicate or a view floor plan, whatever floor plan? That in it by itself is a huge time saver. And that's just my floor plans. Now I can go turn around and say, well, I need some reflected ceiling plans here. I don't need them for the roof, but I do need them everywhere else. And in this case, I don't need these. And I need, let's see, we'll just grab, well, I don't have a ceiling plan template, so I'm just going to grab this one. How about that? I need them for both existing and new again. And we'll hit add. It's going to create the ones that I need. Hit create. Now I've got my ceiling plans, another 10 views. And if I need elevation views for a particular phase, or dependent views, or 3D views, or additional schedules duplicated, or whatever the case may be, I can do all of that right now within this app. So I want my elevations duplicated, so I have some existing views here. We'll hit create, took care of those. Dependent views are 100% based on scope boxes, so I'm gonna have to come back to build those in a second, which I will. For the sheets, I can add individual sheets and specify which title blocks they're gonna get. I can batch add the sheets doing the same thing. However, there's an even faster way to do that, which is what I'm gonna show you once we're done creating our views. So I'm gonna take a step back, go to one of my floor plans that I just made, and I'm going to build out a couple of scope boxes here. So the scope boxes that are present are coming through from my links. So I'm going to go ahead and build my own. And I've got my scope box. We're going to do this one first. Oops, like that. Call it overall. I'm going to do 2 more because I want an area A and an area B in this case. We'll keep it simple. I'm not going nuts. Obviously, the more if you need more, make more. And area B, perfect. So now I'm going to pop back into View Creator to build my dependent views for these. So if I switch to my dependent views tab, I now get all my floor plans, which ones are made, what type they are, and options to specify the scope box. I'm only going to duplicate the enlarged plans because I added those specifically for my dependent views. So I'm going to set my filter here real quick to pull up enlarged only, and I want both area A and B. So I'm just going to do a quick little window select on those two columns, and they're all going to check themselves automatically, and I'm going to hit create. Going through and generating what is that, about 24 additional dependent views. Best part about this, and I'll close this to show you that, they're all named accordingly. I didn't have to rename anything myself. So if I expand my enlarged plans, I now have all my dependent views. They have the names on them, just like they're supposed to, and we're good to go. It's exactly what I told it to do based off my view templates and the scope boxes that have been associated with them, which is great. Okay, now, this next piece may not happen now. It might happen a little later in the process. It's entirely up to you again. But I like having my sheets in the project early stages of the project, so that when my team gets ready or is getting ready to put views on sheets, they've already got them. Okay, so I'm going to build them out. And now View Creator has a batch add sheet tool in it. Sheet Assistant, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, also has a batch add sheet tool. Spreadsheet Link also has one. And I recommend using Spreadsheet Link because it gives you the most flexibility to build out the sheet selections that you need based on your standard or the number of sheets that are needed for the project or the client that you are working for. Maybe you're doing working for the state and they've got very explicit way of naming and numbering their sheets. Okay, that can be done using this process. A little harder to do with the other tools, much easier to do with this one because I can save my settings and build out anything I want. So in this case, I've already got some settings built out, so I'm going to open up that spreadsheet. And Spreadsheet Link, Sheets, Arc Sheet List. And here we go. So now what I'm doing here is I'm adding 25 sheets for floor plan, ceiling plan, elevation, finish plans, and details. I also added an additional parameter so that it's grouped and organized appropriately. And I can just hit apply. And now it's going to be done. And if you look at my browser, you can see it expanded a little bit down here in the corner. Told me it added 25 and modified 26. So I actually told it to rename my title sheet here too. So the other option for this, if you wanted to, is to build it out manually, or you can take it to another level. And instead of using Spreadsheet Link to execute everything, you can actually use Spreadsheet Link Express, which takes advantage of the settings and the templates that you've specified and runs them without actually so you don't have to actually look at anything, right? It takes all your setup and runs it automatically. Still giving you the list of sheets and organizing them the way you want. So that's really slick, easy way to do it. And I told it to use my standard title block, which just happens to be my starter window. And that's me making myself look super good. So I'm just going to go ahead and change it real quick. There we go. Now, the next stage that I like to do at the beginning as well is start to lay the sheets out for people. And the reason why I like doing that personally is just because I've got tools that can help me do it quickly. Not everyone has or is familiar with the tools. I've got them, so why not use them, right? So if I just do this real quick and show you what I mean. Obviously, as we all know, adding views to sheets takes time. It can be a pain. They're not always lined up, and on a page turn, we want them lined up so the things don't look like they're jumping around, right? Dragging, dropping, not remembering which views are on which sheets. You guys have all been there before. Sheet Assistant will allow me and you all to quickly add views to the sheets and make sure that they're all falling in the same positions. And in this case, I've got a template built out. You can specify the sheet that's laid out exactly how you want it to be laid out, save that as a template, and load it in to any project at any point. So I'm going to load mine in. I've done this already. I've got it. It's going to have a floor plan. It's going to have a schedule potentially, and it's going to have a legend down here. Now, when I select this, I have the option now to specify which sheets need this layout. So I've got these 5. We'll start here. And I can specify the floor plan, the legend, and the schedule. And when I specify those to get them on a sheet, they're all going to fall into this layout orientation here, with my floor plan being bottom left, the schedule being top right, and the legend being bottom right. And then those corners should be fixed to those positions so that when I turn sheet to sheet, things will grow to the middle instead of popping all over my borders and expanding out beyond. So for A101, I'm going to use one of my floor plans here. So in this case, this is 101, so we'll call it level 1. And floor plan 01. There it is. And then same thing with the legend. Now, I don't actually have a legend loaded in yet here, so I'm going to skip that for now. I can come back with this tool and update those at a later date. My schedules, I don't also have the right schedule loaded in, but I have one loaded in that I'm going to use as a placeholder. So I'm going to scroll down to my schedules here and use my room schedule. And as long as using the same template, I could have skipped that too, right? I can always come back and reload that later on. So I picked my sheets in the backwards order, so now I have to pick my basement floor plan. And the legend we're skipping, the schedule we are using from there. Okay. So I've got a few picked, and I'll do one more, and then I'm just going to apply them. This is supposed to be 02. There we go. And we'll do my room schedule again. Last, there. Okay. So I've got those 3 set. Let's go ahead and just hit apply. So it's going to take those 3 sheets, lay them out the way I said they should be laid out with the views that they're supposed to be, and then it's going to go ahead and do the rest. So I told, here's A102, and oh, I picked the wrong size title block. Look at me go. So this was built off the out-of-the-box title block, the 30 by 42, I believe it was. Or no, I'm sorry, it is the wrong title block. If I load in the Autodesk title block, you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Let's see, modify, or no, insert, load family, and title blocks. We'll check them both because I don't remember which one it was. Now, I'm going to pull this off to the side because I can. No, it was the jumbo, the E1. Now it fits. Now, so that's something that I did. I thought it was the 30 by 42. So I'm going to select all these in my project and update them to the big guy. All right. Get rid of the one that. Now, let's see here. So I could take this and run with it on every single one of these. Ceiling plans, my finished plans. I can load in a different configuration if I wanted to do, if I had different plan sheets, or if I wanted to map up my elevation sheets or sections, depending on, you know, the project, and if it's kind of one of those like a cookie cutter type project, or maybe you're doing a lot of the same style project for the same customer. You can build out all your templates for all your different customers so that you're just doing the same thing over and over again. Next step is to load in more content. I didn't want to close Revit. What's going on? Okay. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do this. Okay. Now, if you have HIVE CMS, which is our content management system, which is probably going to be one of the best and easiest ways, the most flexible ways to get your content into your project. You can always do a manual search and grab the items that you want. You know, so if I search for doors in my, not my templates folder, but in my Revit content folder, I'm going to get all my doors. And maybe I only want certain doors, or maybe we've got doors in various locations. Maybe there's manufacturer doors out there that I want to get. Maybe there's stuff from the out-of-the-box libraries that we want to get. You can build a saved search for that and load that up every single time you need to load in some content, whether it's your doors, schedules, walls, equipment, a sheet of details, individual details for a specific condition, you name it. Maybe I just want some reference some document standards for certain things, or I want to bring in my code sheets, or the list goes on. Of how many different examples you can come across. Starting with, say, walls, I can hit my walls save search and grab the wall types that I want to use. And I can load them in one at a time, or I can hold down Control, grab the ones that I want to use, and load all of them in. It's entirely up to you how you want to go about doing that. Same thing with any of these. Let's get some schedules loaded in so I can update my sheets. Let's load this schedule in, and let's get a door schedule loaded in here quick. But you can effectively load them all into your project on an as-needed basis. You can even build a safe search for your healthcare projects and your multifamily housing, or higher learning, or government work. Depending on the type of project, I highly recommend building the search for it, especially if you're doing it all the time. Try to save you as much time as you possibly can. So yeah, and now I've got them in here. I can turn around and keep loading stuff in as needed. Maybe I need a sheet of MEP details. I can turn around, I can grab those and either grab the individual detail, or if I had the sheet, which I believe is not this list. That's good. So there's let's do this. Clear that. Let's do details. And while I'm loading this in, I'm going to answer a question that came in. So I'm just going to grab this. Well, let's just grab that one. Water heater details. Which jurisdictions in the U.S. accept 34 by 44 as a standard sheet size? That's a great question. I'm going to say not many, if any. Why? It's just there. I did a previous demo built off that sheet size, so that's why I have it in there. Let's grab all of them. I'm just gonna load the whole sheet. It would have to be a very special exception, I would think. Now, so HIVE CMS is a great way to load the content in to your projects for any which way, like whether it's built off a safe search or you manually searched for what you're looking for. A lot of good options here for getting stuff into your projects using Hive. Now, I'm gonna get out of here and actually jump back and show you how we could update some of this stuff. Now, I didn't load in a legend, so I'm just gonna quickly make one and call it notes, just so you can see the update happen. And just for the sake of having something there, we'll copy it down a little bit, so just so you can see it when it updates. Now, from Sheet Assistant. So you can build out this process from the get-go, or do what I'm about to do and run your updates after the fact. So if I just we'll just grab all three of these again. I've already got the floor plan, right? We've done that already, so I'm gonna skip it. For the legend, I can grab the legend from here now and use that in the views. And for the schedule, I'm going to replace it with, I can replace it or skip it or whatever the case may be, right? It's entirely up to you how you kind of want to do that. If you skipped it, this is a great way to fix that. Well, let's just do this. What sheet was that? A100. I've got a couple other things I want to talk about real quick, so we'll just update this one. And we'll click apply. Cool. All right. Close this. Sheet 100. It's now got the legend in here, just like I told it to, right? I had a couple extra floor plans on here already. This is the one I laid out manually. I shouldn't have picked this sheet. At any rate, so now I've got a starting point for my team. I can sync to Central and unleash them on the project. So I'm going to sync to Central. One other thing that I want to talk about while this is saving is the use of Family Loader as another method to get content into your projects. Family Loader from the BIM Batch Suite is a great tool for batch loading content into one or more projects. So, for example, maybe you're starting a hospital project and there's a bunch of annotation families and title blocks and wall types, or I'm sorry, groups of walls, is a better example, that need to be in a bunch of different projects. Or maybe there's doors that need to be used across the board, and furniture families or equipment families, or you name it. We can batch load those in to our projects using this tool. So here's the file that I had. I'm going to actually grab them both. And in this case, I have two options here. I can manually select the families that I need loaded in, or I can create a setup. I can have saved settings preloaded in for me. Oops, that's the wrong family button. There we go. To load content into my projects. So maybe you've got a healthcare project and you want to load on all your healthcare families or healthcare specific families. And so you can load that settings file in. Or maybe it's multifamily, or maybe it's a special type of mechanical equipment needed to get used, or electrical fixtures and devices, or what have you. Build out a settings file. It's just text, and you can save it right from here as its own text file. So you never have to load it up again or specify that list again. You just load the list, good to go. In this case, I'm loading in each individual family and everything that is contained within that family. If these families have type catalogs associated with them, I'm not going to get any of those types in this case. Excuse me. Yeah, no options for that stuff. So if you have type catalogs and you only need certain types loaded, then your best bet is to go through HIVE and load the types in that you need. And you can, again, now that becomes a little bit more of a explicit loading of content to make sure that those types exist. And if you have certain types that need to be loaded into every project, it might even benefit you to have those types set in the family or as the default size or type of in that family, so that when you do load it in, that's the type or the size that you get right out of the gate. So I can load, so it kind of depends on how frequently you're using certain types. In my case here, I'm just loading in everything, and what's in the family is what's in the family. If there are types in this case, I can go back to HIVE and reload that family in and get my types, or I can do a right-click reload from the browser and to have it pull up my type catalog. Now, and so this is going to batch load everything in. I'm going to pull this one out just for the sake of time. I don't want to make you guys sit here and watch me do this. I'm just going to remove that one project file and hit load. So what's going to happen is it's going to load everything from the list into my project. And oh, I know why. I'm in the central file still. Let's get out of it. I did save it, so that's okay. It's like, what did I do? So now we'll come back, family loader, add projects, grab my demo file again, and open my family list. All the families are going to get loaded from this list. You have the option to only reload families that are already existent in the project. That way, if you're doing this to update content at a later date, and maybe you don't want every single project to have every single family from this list, you can kind of pick and choose how that works. Overwrite, update parameter values, sync and close. I think we're good. Away we go. So now it's going to open the file in the background, load the content in, sync to central, close the file. You could also do this if the families are open, or if the project is open, but you're in the local file, which is how I've done it a lot, actually. If you're already in the file, that'll work just as well, as long as it's a local. You can do it that way as well. And let me just get into this and just kind of show you how that would work. Here. Come on. There we are. So come here to family loader. And even though I do have a current document option, and I'll explain that here in a sec, but I can still add the parent file that I'm in and grab a list of content. And in this case, I grabbed a different list, but that's okay. This one's mostly just casework and a couple of annotation families. Oh. So loading everything in. I just realized why I got all those warnings in the last one. I forgot to set it back to load all families into the project, and I left it at only reload. So it couldn't find the family in that file, so it didn't reload it. Yeah. So this one works great. Another question is, do you have a tool that loads predefined filters? I'm assuming, and maybe clarify, that you're talking about view filters, or are you talking about, yes, okay. Now, so if a view filter is associated with the view template, yes, I can, HIVE CMS will do that. So one of the great things about HIVE is the ability to load in project-specific content. So I can get my dimension styles from Hive. I can get my text styles. I can get just about, well, we're getting close to about everything. Anything that can be loaded in or can be saved to a project, we are working on getting our hands on. So if I have dimension styles or text styles or view templates and titles, if the view filter itself is associated with the view template, it's going to come along for the ride. If there's any sort of project specific information tied to that, you're going to get it. So you don't have to worry about using transfer project standards to get your view filter just so that your view template will work. It's all part of the definition. You're going to get your hands on it all. So for view filters explicitly, no, but if it's tied to the view template, yes. So that means, hopefully what some of you are getting out of this is that I don't need to try to put everything into my starter project. You can't, or my template. You can, if that is something that you guys are using on a regular basis. This workflow, in my opinion, and from my experience, allows you to keep your template and starter project file sizes down to a minimum, and then you load in what you need when you need it. So now we can build out a bunch of different settings files and save searches for the type of project that we're working on, or the type of, or based off the client that we are working for. We don't have to worry about loading everything into the starter project or template and then expecting the team members who are starting the files to purge all that stuff out. It doesn't always work out that way. A lot of times people don't know what they need to purge, so they don't purge it. And then we end up having to come back in later on anyway and purge it out for them. With this method, we're helping them get it started. We can build it as a repeatable process. We can create a checklist that says, for this project type, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. You're done. You've got everything you need. Now, begin work. You got a little flexibility, and then you can create, like I said, you can create this for just about every condition that you can think of. So that was a long sentence, but that sums it up for today. I want to thank you all for joining me. Hopefully you saw some workflows here that you guys can put to use in your offices and in your firms. And again, thank you all for joining, and look forward to seeing you guys next week.